Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Amy. I sound a little under the weather because I am, but I really wanted to do my September wrap up for y'all. So today we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in September. I do have some tea with me that is still steeping, so that'll kind of help with the throat. Just feeling a little nasally and started being a little scratchy in the throat area today, but we're going to do this because I really want to talk to y'all about some books. I'm going to start off with a DNF and an unhaul. I'm going to unhaul both of these, but I did DNF one of them. I just couldn't do it. And I knew the second book in the series was probably going to be just the same. Was not loving the writing. I just felt it was just so cliche and I just didn't like it. So this is Big Rock by Lauren Blakely. I just didn't like the whole I don't know if it was the writing or just how everything was taking place. So basically we have this hot guy, okay, that is, of course, has lots of money. His family owns like a jewelry business, and his father is looking to retire, so he's looking for someone to buy it. His son, which is this guy here, does not want to buy it. He has his own business. I don't even know his name. It's that forgettable. I don't remember his name or like the chick's name, nothing. I was just so not into it. But so it was, I thought like it was gonna be like his father needed him to just look the part, you know, and like maybe have like his friend be like his pretend girlfriend, fiance, or whatever, and then they kind of like fall in love, be like a slow burn kind of thing. But it was so not that. It was not that at all. He was being like his just cocky self, and just kind of blurted out that he had a fiance. I don't want to go into too much details about it, but I just felt like the pretend aspect of it, I felt like it was too fast. You know, like if they're supposed to be like these best friends over the years, and sure, I'm sure they have feelings for each other, but I don't really even know how to explain this, because I just didn't like how it all came together. And I just did not like him. I didn't care for her. I didn't like the whole situation. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I DNF'd. I tried though. I DNF'd it on chapter 19. I marked my page so I would know where I was at. I kept trying though. I kept picking it up and trying my hardest. And I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. So, I'm going to be giving this book away to my friend, see if she wants to read it, or maybe her mom. Her mom likes kind of these type of books. And the second book in that series is Mr. O. I don't know anything about this book except on the back it says, "Her pleasure is my superpower." I mean, I'm just not into it. I mean, I like me some good smut, don't get me wrong, every now and then, but this was just, it wasn't good smut. Just wasn't good smut. I don't know. So I don't know what this one's going to be about. And I apologize if you've read these and you love them. That's great. That's great. It's just not my cup of tea. That's all. That's all there is to it. But so yeah, I'm going to give these two to my friend. See if she wants to read them, or her mom. If she doesn't, I'll probably just donate them. I actually bought these at a library sale at the beginning of the year. So, oh, my tea's ready. It's probably still hot. Oh, that's so good. I got this Harvest tea. It's called Harvest Blend Herbal Tea from Trader Joe's the last time I went. It's caffeine free. It's very fall. It tastes like fall. Just, I guess, the spices and everything. But it says it's cinnamon, ginger, hibiscus, natural cinnamon and apple flavors with natural flavors of chamomile, roasted chicory, and orange peel. It just sounded really good. And I believe someone told my friend that it was really good, and she recommended it to me. So I picked it up. and it has been delicious, and I love it, and it feels so good on my throat right now. Oh, that feels good. Okay. All right, so moving on to the actual books that I read this month. First up, I'm just going to go down the list. I write a list of all the books that I read, like just in a row. As I pick them up, I jot it down. So this is how I read for the month of September. So the first one I read, well, I listened to this one on audio, and it is Love and Pain by Charlie Cochet. I'll put a picture of it somewhere over here. I love Charlie Cochet and her writing. I love her characters. She just like makes you love them. It was narrated by Mark Westfield. He pretty much narrates all her books. He's fantastic. I love him. So Love and Pain is sort of coming off of the third series. I'm not sure if she's going to continue anything with like this being a new series. It's called A Third Universe Novel, so I don't know if it's going to continue as a series or not. But this one actually involves a guy from the third series that if you've read the thirds, you will know and you will love him. His name is Austin Payne, and he is considered a SSA, which is a Squadron Specialist Agent. I had to write it down because I could never remember what it means. But in the thirds, so they had like a level up the thirds. It's sort of like a secret CIA of the thirds. But they called it TIN, T-I-N. And anyway, he was a part of that, and he was sort of like behind the scenes of the thirds. Like if they needed anything, not sketchy done, but like it really had to be on the down low, Tin would come in and kind of take over or whatever. Anyway, so it's his story. It's his story of where he's come from and who he is. So you never really get that in the third series. And you kind of fall in love with Austin and you want more of him. So this is the book that gives it to you. So he does have a love interest in this book, and that is Osmond Zachary. He is a bear shifter. So this is also a paranormal type. It's a gay romance / paranormal type of read. Austin is a cheetah. He can transform into a cheetah, and Osmond is a bear. So in this book, you kind of get their story of how they come to know each other, how they grow together. Of course, there's, action and everything happening in the background, but like her main focus is on those two characters and how they feel for each other and how their relationship grows. And I just love her writing. I really do. If you haven't checked out the third series, definitely check it out. It's one of my favorite gay romance series. I hope she continues to do something with this third universe that she's created. I would love to see or read about Dex and Sloan some more because they were my absolute favorite in the thirds. And of course, I gave it a 5-star. Next up on my list is Kept in the Dark. I'll put a picture of it here, which is also written by Charlie Cochet. So it is also a gay romance. I started the September month with a little bit of gay romance because I was kind of missing it. So I jumped right into it, and Charlie Cochet had two. Well, she had this one. This is a new release. It's the Lock and Keys Agency. This is book 1. I read this on my Kindle app. This one is about, I believe, like CIA type agents. Caden and Dee. Dee actually had to change his name due to incidents that happened that you'll find out in the book if you read it. Caden was a CIA officer that sort of got, I don't know if he got let go from his job because of what Dee did. They kind of met, like they met before, like they were both on jobs and they met and something happened between them and they got separated, and Caden like despised Dee or whatever his before name was. So 2 years have passed and an opportunity comes up for Caden to take, and he discovers that he'll be working with Dee, or who he thought was, what was his name before? I'll look that up. He was an Army Ranger. Alvaro Montero was his name before he had to change it. So they're working on a case together, and old feelings start to bubble up. Charlie Cochet's writing is just like I don't know, it just melds together. I can't think of any other words to describe the way her writing is. Like, you're into what's happening, you're into like the action and what's happening, but you're also like so involved in the characters and their relationship and how they're growing and how they treat each other, and it just works so good together. I love this book. I gave it a 4 stars only because I just wasn't as into it as I was like 11 Pain, but I still loved it. Next up, I read Daisy Jones and the Six. 5 stars. The hype is real on this book. It was so good. I enjoyed it so much. So it's told like a VH1 behind the scenes or behind the music type of show. I did listen to this on audio just because it was recommended by everyone that to listen to it. It's performed by a full cast, and it's like, it was just so good. Like I said, it's just like I'm picturing it in my head, like watching VH1 behind the music and seeing these characters like come on screen and talk about their journey with Daisy Jones and the Six. So of course it's about a band in the 70s. It was actually just the Six before Daisy was, you know, before she came onto the scene. Daisy was sort of like a loner, you know, very hippie-ish. She wrote her songs and she just wanted her music out there. She didn't necessarily want to perform it, but she just wanted her music out there. But she had a phenomenal voice. Once the Six, she was brought together. I don't really remember how they were brought together, but they were brought together, and their records sold like crazy. It's about drugs and sex and rock and roll. It's all there. It's VH1 behind the music. That's the only way I can describe it, because it was just like if you're sitting there in your living room watching an episode. It was so good. I highly recommend it. And the ending was just like, gave me all the feels. I liked it a lot. Next up is The Widow by Fiona Barton. This was a 3-star thriller for me. I didn't really care for it. I have it written down as a suspenseful thriller. I sort of actually got a little bored with it in the beginning. Maybe it was the narrator. I did listen to this. It was read by a cast, it says. I have it written down. So it wasn't necessarily like anyone in particular, but I just remember just like being so bored and like and not really following along with what was happening. But basically we have a widow. Her husband dies in the beginning of the book in like a freakish accident. She starts to unravel the mystery of him. Like, in the beginning it's almost like you don't know if like she knows what he's done, if she's like really naive to the fact that he has committed a crime or not. She's followed around by a reporter who, you know, wants to put her story out there, and she wants to put her story out there. I even forgot her name. Jean is her name. I don't remember the husband's name. This was very like forgettable. Like, I'm struggling to remember exactly what happened, but I just the very beginning was very slow. Like the opening of it was like kind of catches you by surprise, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a crazy ride, and then it just kind of like dies down, and it's really slow. To me, anyway. If you love a slow burn thriller, I usually like a slow burn thriller because it just kind of keeps you guessing, you know, and on your toes. But this one was, I don't even know if this was like even suspenseful. Maybe towards the end when things started to really pick up, and like whatever had happened, whatever he did, all comes, you know, to the front, and you realize what happened. I was kind of on the fence whether to give it like maybe a 3.5, just because the ending was actually really good. So that's basically the story in a nutshell. Next up, we have 13 Reasons Why. This was fantastic. 5 stars all the way. This is actually a Netflix, I don't know if it's a series or a movie. I think it's a series. I have not watched it yet, but I really do want to watch it. This was so good. We're following along with Clay. So this is a young adult, and one of his classmates, I guess, Hannah, has committed suicide. And so, trigger warning, this is like a young adult suicidal type book, but you get to hear her story but she tells it through like these tapes. And she apparently has sent her tapes to different people along the way that have contributed to why she did this to herself, I guess. And so when Clay gets it, he doesn't understand, you know, because he's never really, they were never really like that close, and he kind of like knew her from afar. And I mean, you get the story of, you know, where they kind of come together, and where he plays a part in this role of hers, but he doesn't understand it until like the very, very end. So then once he's done with the tapes, he passes them on to other people that were involved in why she did this to herself. So it was very, very deep. I cried so much, cried so hard, but it was so good. And the way it was told, just like I listened to this on audio as well. And Clay had a voice as well as Hannah had a voice. So we had two narrators, and they both were just wonderful, just pulling you into the story. I love that the story was like done through tapes. I don't know what, I guess I'm a fan of like a story in a story type of thing. I love like the turn of the key. I love that her story was told through these letters. I just loved it. I loved it so much. I can't wait to watch it on Netflix. Yeah, if you haven't read this yet, definitely pick it up. Highly recommend. Next on my list is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Chimera. I can never say that right. Beautiful book, first of all. Beautiful, beautiful cover. That's what kind of drew me in at first. Also, it's a sort of retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So this is a young adult and it's fantasy, which I'm not usually into reading. I used to be into fantasy, young adult, especially young adult fantasy, a couple years back. I loved it, and I guess just as my reading grew and I started experiencing other genres, I just kind of fell away from fantasy. Some books still do it for me, some fantasy reads still do it for me, and some don't. This one really did it for me. I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I can't wait for the second book to come out. And I feel crazy kind of saying that because I never thought I would have liked a fantasy again, because a couple fantasies I have tried between this one and like others I've liked, I just haven't done anything for me. But this one was so good. So we follow 2 of our characters. We follow Rin, which is a prince, or who is a prince, and we also follow Harper. Harper is actually from, well, Prince Rin is actually from another world. Harper is like from our world, from Washington, D.C., actually. And she is pulled from her world into Rin's world. So Rin is, of course, he's cursed. And every season, he has to find someone to break this curse. So someone that will fall in love with him to break this curse. So his seasons sort of like a Groundhog's Day effect. It just keeps happening over and over and over again. He hasn't aged, but he's been doing this for like about 300 years. He's sort of like at the point where he's just like kind of like given up. So he's sort of made a deal with I don't know if she's I guess she's considered a witch. She has a name in the book, but I don't really remember like what she is. But he basically makes a deal with her, like if this goes bad, like if he can't break the curse this season, he wants to end it. Like he wants his life to end. He's done with trying to bring this curse to an end, because he does turn into like a beast. It's always a different monster, and he has throughout the years he had this monster or beast has killed so many people in his kingdom, and he's just so tired of all the killings and everything that's happening. And so anyway, his commander Gray, goes out to, every season he's allowed out of their realm to our world realm, to find someone for Ren. Hopefully they'll fall in love. So Harper is coming from a pretty hard life. Her mother is very, very ill, and her brother is working off the debt of her father, who I believe ran away from them years ago. But he's like dealing with money sharks, and he's like doing their work and stuff. So it's really dangerous work, and Harper's kind of in on it. She kind of like keeps her eye on him and like looks out for him. So one night she's like standing guard out wherever her brother is, and she witnesses Commander Gray taking this girl. Obviously, like, this girl is drunk or whatever. This is in the very beginning. nothing, no spoiler. It's just like, you know, she's taking this girl, and Harper like kind of intervenes, and I'll leave it at that, and she is brought into the other realm. So she is placed in this different world, and, you know, she's trying to make the best out of it, and she just becomes infatuated with this world and its people that are in it, and things just, you know, things grow between Ren and Harper, and other things are happening. It was so good. I really didn't think I was gonna like it once I realized like this was set like this was sort of like a kingdom type tale. I didn't know how I would bode well with that, if I would bode well with that or not, but it really worked. Whatever she did in this book, it worked. It was such a great story. It does kind of leave you hanging at the end, so I'm ready for the second book. 5 stars. Did I say that already? Next on my list is a cozy mystery. This is Dead Bath and Beyond by Lorraine Bartlett and Lori Cass. I was just in the mood for a little cozy read. This is from the Victorian Square Mysteries. Yeah, Victoria Square Mystery. I believe this is like the 4th book in the series. I'm a little behind. Yeah, this is number 4. So in this one, our main character, Katie, she comes into contact with her ex-boss, and if you kind of need to know the background of them, but she left her job years ago to run this little strip mall type place, or I want to picture it more as like a flea market type thing. It has sorts of all sorts of like little kiosks where people work and sell their items, and she sort of runs it. But it was her husband's place of business that he was running, and then they ended up in a divorce, and he ended up passing away, and so she had to like take care of all his things, and decided that she was going to run this business. So anyway, in this book, she comes in contact with her ex-boss. When she left him, things were kind of rocky between them. And so they have words, and then of course he ends up dead. And so it's just your basic cozy mystery of our main character trying to figure out what happened to her ex-boss, trying to clear her name, other people's name, her friends. Some of her friends sort of get accused of this crime, and she's trying to clear their names. So your typical cozy mystery. I gave it a 3-star. Even though that one wasn't my favorite, I am going to continue with the series just because I love the characters. But that one was just not my favorite in the series so far. Next up, I have If You Knew Her by Emily Elgar. This was a psychological suspense thriller. I gave it a 3.5 stars because it was sort of boring to me. I was very fascinated with one of the characters' storylines. So you actually follow 3 characters. You follow Alice, who is a nurse that is working at a hospital where two patients, these characters, other characters that we're going to follow, where they are at. So then we follow Frank. Frank is a patient of Alice's. He is in the hospital. He is in like a coma. but he's aware of his surroundings and he sees everything. He just cannot, like, he can't do anything to let you know that he's like there. Like, his eyes are open and everything, but he can't move them. He can't move any part of his body. So he hears a lot of what's going on, everything around him. And I found his little parts of the book that were told through him fascinating. And then there's also Cassie, who is really, Alice and Cassie are sort of our main characters, and Frank is just sort of on the side just because he's able to hear what's happening and he knows what's happening. And so Cassie is like our victim in this story, where she gets, I believe, hit by a car in the beginning, and that's how she ends up in the hospital. She is in a coma, and she is hiding a little bit of a secret that you find out fairly early on in the book. The reason I gave this 3.5 stars is because I almost guessed what was going on, but yet I was surprised in the end. I guessed a little bit, but not everything. I was a little shocked in the end. It was also it was a very sad ending for me. Anyway, that's why I went up to 3.5, just because the ending just kind of it just kind of did it for me. Like I said, I kind of guessed what had happened, but then not really. There was quite a twist on the end. Quite a twist. So yeah, it was pretty good. I would recommend it. And the last book I read for the month of September is Sir by N.R. Walker. I'll put a picture of it here. I read this also on my Kindle app. Oh, this was such a good book, y'all. I didn't know if I would like it or not. I picked it up because of the author, because I loved Upside Down. This is a gay romance. It's a male romance. It's also involving BDSM, but it's not like hard hitting or anything. It's not like hard BDSM or anything. And that's sort of like in the background. That's what I love about this author. This is only the second book I've read from her, but her writing is just so beautiful. Like, there's some stuff going on in the background, but the characters, her characters are so lovable, and just so, like, you just get so involved with these characters. So we have Sig, who is our dom. Levin is his sub, and he takes on a second sub. So Sig and Levin take in Hunter as their second sub, but Hunter was in a sort of, I guess, a violent relationship with his dom. His dom was not abiding by his hard limits, and that's like a very, very strong rule at this sanctum of, where they practice. So they have like superior doms or whatever that, rule everything, and if anything, if any of their doms below them are not acting properly, then they are brought in for punishment, and their subs are taken away from them. So that's what happens here. Hunter was, his hard limit was crossed by his dom, and it just hurt him really, really bad. So he's not had a very good past life as well. So he sort of starts to open up as he comes into Sig's home with him and Levin. I'm sorry, I'm getting more stuffy the more I'm talking. This is my last book. It was just such a beautiful story. So he has a week with Sig and Levin to see if he can fit in with them. So Sig is such a caring character. He loves his dom, his subs, so much, and he treats them with like just so much care, and he wants them to have as much pleasure as he's having, but he gets pleasure from seeing that they're having pleasure. It's a beautiful book. I know it's BDSM and it's male romance, but it was a beautiful book. So yeah, so you just get the story of Hunter and him trying to open up, Sig trying to open him up, and show him how a true dom treats his subs. So if you're into that, definitely give it a go because it was so good. I've never read a BDSM. This was my first, but it wasn't like, I really don't feel like it was a BDSM. You know, they had like the whips and the whatever that, you know, they use, but it wasn't anything hard hitting or any, you know. Anyway, it was a beautiful book. The characters were beautiful and I loved it. 5 stars. All right, y'all. That is it. I'm going to get off of here and stop talking because my throat is starting to really hurt. Thank y'all so much for watching and putting up with this nasally voice of mine today, but I really wanted to sit down and talk to you about my books I read in September. All the books that I mentioned in today's video will link down below as per usual. Come follow me on my social medias. I'm always on Instagram. I'm always on Goodreads posting anything that I'm reading at the time, always writing reviews, so come follow me there. And yeah, I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.